encourage you, I encourage you to engage fully, ask questions at the end of the session, or just post your questions in the chat box. Feel free to leverage the expertise or the expert panelists here today and all the resources available to you. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you. It's now time to strengthen trade between Africa and the Caribbean. Just some housekeeping. Today's webinar recording and presentation, all the presentations will be made available on the Afreximbank Academy platform, which is referred to as AfriCard Learning Platform. You will receive one email with login instructions and another requesting your feedback following this session. Thank you. Now, to get us all started this morning, I welcome Dr. Dami Sinanan, the Executive Director of Caribbean Export, to deliver opening remarks. Welcome, Dr. Dami.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to everyone who's taking part in the webinar this morning. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your no doubt busy schedules to be part of this webinar here this morning. I'd like to recognize my good friend and colleague, Mr. Okichukwu Ihejirika. I apologize, Oki, who is the Acting Chief Operations Officer for the Caribbean Office of the Afreximbank. And I'll also like to acknowledge all the colleagues from the Afreximbank and the IATF, both here in Barbados and on the continent as well. It is certainly a pleasure to welcome all of you here to this important gathering focused on strengthening trade and investment between the Caribbean and Africa. Both regions have a long-standing historical, cultural, and economic ties, and this provides a solid foundation for deepening collaboration and advancing mutual prosperity. Over the past year, we have made significant strides in terms of enhancing this relationship. And this webinar today is sort of like reaffirming our commitment to building on these achievements. The strengthening of relationships between the Caribbean region and Africa has been a key priority for Caribbean Export, with both regions actively pursuing opportunities to expand this type of cooperation. The numbers tell a clear story for the massive potential there are for trade between the Caribbean and Africa. According to statistics, in 2021, Africa exports to the Caribbean represented a mere less than 1% of Africa's total exports, while imports from the Caribbean constituted an even smaller amount of its total imports. In comparison, our exports to Africa represent 1.4% of our total exports, while the region's imports from Africa constituted 0.4% of their total imports. So based on these numbers, we can see that there is massive potential for expanding trade. All we have to do is really to identify the opportunities that are available. And Caribbean Export has been continuously trying to explore these opportunities to strengthen trade and investment ties between the Caribbean and Africa. Currently, plans are being developed to engage key stakeholders across multiple sectors, including agriculture, digital services, and green economy transition, with the aim of fostering connections that can lead to long-term commercial partnerships. Efforts remain focused heavily on identifying potential business opportunities and facilitating meaningful engagements with the private sector organizations in both regions. Last year, ACTIV, the Africa Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, was held in the Bahamas. This was a landmark event that brought together policymakers, business leaders, and development partners to explore tangible avenues for economic cooperation. And a crucial milestone in this journey was a signing of an MOU between Caribbean Export Development Agency and our colleagues at the Afreximbank. This agreement has laid a foundation for closer economic collaboration and facilitation of trade and investment. The discussions and partnerships formed at ACTIV have further solidified the momentum towards increasing trade and investment, underscoring a shared vision of enhanced intra-Caribbean trade and leveraging our respective strengths to drive economic transformation. We remain committed to advancing these conversations and translating them into actionable outcomes that deliver benefits to businesses in both regions. I don't want it to simply be an MOU that we have signed and we took pictures. It has to result in tangible actions. And I really look forward to attending the active that will take place once again this year in 2025. Afreximbank has played an instrumental role in fostering this relationship. With its presence in the Caribbean, the bank has worked closely with regional stakeholders to provide access to trade financing, facilitate business-to-business linkages, and support investment flows. Its initiatives, such as the Mansa platforms, are creating greater transparency in cross-border trade and fostering trust amongst financial institutions and businesses. And I'm sure we will hear more about it when Oki speaks coming up next. The Intra-African Trade Fair, IATF, which this webinar is about this morning, has also been a critical platform for showcasing the potential of Caribbean businesses in Africa. We hope that many Caribbean firms in the IATF reflect our commitment to diversifying our trade relationships and exploring new market frontiers. These engagements have provided valuable insights into the evolving African marketplace, highlighting areas where Caribbean enterprises can leverage their expertise and resources. Caribbean Export will continue to support these businesses in expanding their markets to Africa. Through targeted programs, capacity building initiatives, and trade facilitation efforts, we are equipping our private sector with the tools needed to navigate this new trade environment successfully. Our focus extends beyond traditional sectors to include emerging industries such as fintech, renewable energy, and agribusiness, where significant synergies exist between Africa and the Caribbean. Another key pillar in our strategy is the Caribbean Investment Forum, which serves as the premier platform for attracting investments into the region. And since its inception, CIF has brought together global investors and business leaders to explore high growth potential in the Caribbean region. The next edition of the CIF is scheduled to take place this July, and we will have more information on that announcement as we try to build on the successes of the forum. And I would like to issue an invitation to everyone today to attend the CIF with the view to fostering new investments and partnerships that drive sustainable development. So as we move forward, it is imperative that we continue to build on the strong political will that has been demonstrated at the highest levels. The commitment from Caribbean and African leaders to deepen economic ties must be complemented by concrete actions that facilitate trade and investment. In closing, I wish to express our appreciation for the Afreximbank for its unwavering commitment to support Caribbean businesses and foster stronger economic ties between our region. I also extend my gratitude to all stakeholders who have committed to this journey, including our business community, policymakers, and development partners. The Caribbean and Africa are natural partners, and by working together, we can unlock immense support for economic growth and shared prosperity. I myself am extremely proud to be the Caribbean ambassador for the IATF, and I look forward to seeing everyone in Algeria later on this year. I look forward to the discussions ahead and continued strengthening of this important partnership, and I thank you all for paying attention and being part of this webinar this morning. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Dami, for sharing some key trade data with us, outlining potential opportunities, while at the same time strengthening the call for action or call to action to drive sustainable development for trade relations between Africa and the Caribbean. I want to add there that we value our relationship with Caribbean Exports, and we do appreciate the unwavering support of yourself and your dedicated team. Thank you. We now move over to our second speaker for today, the head of the Afreximbank Caribbean office, our acting chief operating officer, Okechukwu Ihedrika, to deliver a presentation on the bank's initiatives and financing instruments. Over to you, Oke.
Yes, thank you very much, moderator, and allow me to stand on all existing protocols. It's an honor and privilege to address you today at this all-important event, which is organized in conjunction with our friends in Caribbean Export Development Agency. Our focus today is on fostering deeper trade and economic linkages between Africa and the Caribbean through the Intra-African Trade Fair, which is a strategic platform designed to bridge markets, expand opportunities, and strengthen economic bonds that have historically connected our two regions. But first, let me start by extending my unalloyed gratitude to the co-organizers, Caribbean Export Development Agency, led by my good friend, Dr. Dami Sinanam, and the team for making effort to put this together. It's imperative to reemphasize what he said, that we signed the MOU just last year at the first ever Afreximbank annual meeting to be held within the Caribbean region, which took place in the beautiful island of Nassau, Bahamas. And just within a year of signing that MOU, I would say that MOU is already bearing fruit because we are here talking about promoting one of the core events that the bank has, which is the Intra-African Trade Fair, leveraging strongly on Caribbean Export Development Agency's Caribbean-wide network to promote this very event that takes place between 4th and 10th of September in Algiers, Algeria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the historical ties between Africa and the Caribbean are profound, spanning across centuries of cultural, economic, and social exchanges. Today, we stand on the precipice of a new era, one where these bonds are not only celebrated, but are transformed into tangible economic opportunities. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which is the world's largest free trade area by number of participating countries, presents an unprecedented opportunity for the Caribbean community to integrate with Africa in ways never before imagined. And the Intra-African Trade Fair also is a way for us to see where these opportunities lie. Afreximbank has been at the forefront of promoting and facilitating these trade exchanges between Africa and the global community. And with our Caribbean initiative, we have taken deliberate steps to bridge the gap between the two dynamic regions. This initiative is not just about trade, it's also about rewriting our economic narratives to reflect the untapped potentials that lie within our shared aspirations, noting the huge similarities that these two regions share in terms of the urgent need for economic development, as well as huge infrastructural gaps that need to be covered. Therefore, today's session, which promises to be highly informative and interactive at the same time, will provide the necessary information about the IATF, as we have shortened it to be. My colleagues and I will be on standby to answer questions that will come up, that will make each and every one of you understand a lot more about the opportunities that IATF hold for the Caribbean community, as we hope to mobilize huge participation from this region for this year's event. But while we take a deep dive into it, before we start the deep dive into the IATF, I would like to pause a moment to also give a brief on the bank and what financing instruments and initiatives that we have tailored for the region, which are currently bearing fruit. As a multilateral development finance institution with a mandate to promote intra and extra-African trade, as well as South-South trade, the bank has, for the past 3 decades, evolved into a financial giant with carefully created programs and facilities to help member countries navigate through often turbulent global financial marketplace and also facilitate connectivity, all with a view to boost trade. With all 54 African member states, African countries as member states of the bank, plus 12 within the 12 out of the 15 within the CARICOM region, we believe that the bank is better positioned to talk about improving Africa-Caribbean trade. And also we are strategically positioned at the moment to widen the reach and drive deeper and more meaningful Africa-Caribbean cooperation. So in keeping with our this objective, our Caribbean office was set up in Bridgetown, Barbados in August of 2023 to help the government and the CARICOM private sector trigger a new transatlantic relationship underpinned by trade, investment, and economic partnerships that would rebuild the long neglected heritage and promote shared prosperity of African and Caribbean people. I'm happy to report, ladies and gentlemen, that this investment has actually surpassed all our expectations within this very short period that it has been in existence. Although we set out with a target of about 1.5 billion for the region in the early years, we can see that this has evolved with us looking at a pipeline of over 2 billion. And this target has actually, this initial investment has actually ramped up to about 2.5 billion as we speak today. Afreximbank's interventions have reached multiple CARICOM economies and sectors within this short period, including hotel projects, which we have supported in Grenada, a climate adaptation facility that has helped rebuild schools damaged by severe adverse weather in St. Lucia, a sports complex rehabilitation facility in Barbados, a project preparation facility that supports the emergence of a permanent trade exhibition facility in the Bahamas, as well as a line of credit to support SMEs through the Development Bank of Bahamas. We have also created a standby facility for accelerated infrastructure development in Guyana, a credit facility to support oil and gas production in Suriname, a line of credit for banks in several countries, hotel development project in Barbados, which has gone into an advanced stage, a discussion to put in place a $1 billion USD local content financing facility for the oil industry in Guyana, as well as development of a state-of-the-art tertiary health care hospital center in Grenada, which is at an estimated cost of over 250 million US dollars. We have only recently also signed a framework agreement with the government of the Bahamas to support the road development, and that is up to an amount of about 200 million US dollars. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that this has been made possible because of the fact that we have adapted programs and facilities that have been hugely successful in Africa within the Caribbean. And you recall what I mentioned, that there are similarities of need. That means since this has worked in Africa, we have seen them work within the Caribbean within this short period of time. So our goal is also going to be to continue to expand on these programs and facilities, and also help to work with private sector to provide support in the following areas. One, trade finance, where we are also providing solutions for exports, including export credit facilities and guarantees to qualifying clients within the Caribbean region to help provide them with financial and non-financial services to support their export. This also extends to SMEs to help them get help them get to export level, facilitate their industrialization, and also develop regional integration through trade, as well as technical support for the SMEs that has been identified. We also have the Afreximbank Trade Facilitation Program, which is unique to most of the financial institutions that we work with. And this is targeted at addressing the massive de-risking of banks, which has been experienced by institutions in member countries, and involves the provision of uncommitted, clean lines of credit on a revolving basis to financial institutions to facilitate the issuance, confirmation, and discounting of trade instruments like letters of credit and confirmations, as well as irrevocable reimbursement undertakings. The Afreximbank Project Preparation Facility is another of the programs that we are looking to advance within the region, and the focus will be to help do the groundwork that are required to get projects to a financeable stage. So this we mean working with those promoters to help them do critical initial jobs, including advisory services, technical studies, as well as assistance. The construction and tourism linked relay facility remains one of our unique interventions to support the huge tourism potentials available in the CARICOM region. Under this program, we're already considering hotel projects in Barbados, in Bahamas, and a few other islands. And we believe that this is something that we are going to drive with those who have projects like this in mind. We also have our deposit program, which we call the CENDEP, Central Bank Deposit Program, through which we are hoping to mobilize deposits from the region, which definitely is going to help us also take on more risk assets coming from the region. Our advisory services solution also is something that we think is significantly relevant because we believe the need to handhold a lot of businesses is absolutely important to get them to financeable stage. We have also developed a suite of digital platforms that are going to be absolutely relevant. So this includes the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. I'm happy to report that only last month we did the first pilot of the adaptation of PAPs into the region, which we call the Caribbean Payment and Settlement System, CAPS. And that event took place in Bahamas and saw to a successful execution of local currency payments between Bahamas and Barbados. And we expect to expand on this in the further proof of concept. And after this, we will actually see to the deployment of this bank-wide, region-wide. Under this our digital platform, we also have interventions in our Afreximbank Trade Exchange, which is a digital marketplace and e-commerce platform that can help bring buyers and sellers within the region together to be able to identify what is on offer from one region and also be able to see how this can be taken advantage of. It's also significant to mention the Mansa repository, which is our due diligence platform that helps provide critical information on companies, on SMEs within the region to the international community to help them get cleaned up and also facilitate connectivity with the wider global community. These are just a snippet of some of the financial interventions that we have. But in addition to this, we also have a huge suite of programs that we've created to connect businesses within the region. And one of them is what we will talk about in depth today, which is the Intra-African Trade Fair. But specific to this region and to boost the connectivity between African and Caribbean businesses, we created the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, ACTIV, the first edition of which took place in Barbados in 2022. And we've had subsequent editions in Guyana 2023 and 2024 in the Bahamas, which happened alongside our annual meetings. And I'm happy to announce that this year's edition is taking place in St. George's, Grenada, between 28th to 29th of July 2025. It is my pleasure to take this opportunity to invite all of you to this event. And I believe that judging by the historical successes that we've recorded from the previous events, this promises to also be a huge event that will connect businesses coming in from Africa, where we have huge attendance, and those who are coming also from the region, so that they can meet, sit in the same place, discuss opportunities that exist between the two regions and how they can together take advantage of them. Permit me also, Mr. Chair, to take this opportunity to extend invitation to everyone to the 32nd Afreximbank annual meeting, which is taking place in Abuja, Nigeria, between the 25th and 28th of June 2025. So that will be another event. The last edition took place within the region in the Bahamas. So it is an opportunity for us to have what we call a return match in Abuja, where we also expect to have a huge delegation coming in from the region to attend this event in Abuja, which is happening in the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I reiterate Afreximbank's commitment to supporting the development of trade both in Africa and the Caribbean. Once again, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our friends in Caribbean Export Development Agency and my colleagues in Afrexim who have worked very hard to put this together. And most importantly, to each and every one of you for making out time to join us today and for listening attentively. I do hope most sincerely to see you all in person in Abuja in June, in St. George's in July, and in Algiers in September. I also look forward to seeing all of you later this month, specifically on March 25th here in Bridgetown, Barbados, where we're looking to do a groundbreaking event for the Afreximbank Africa Trade Center, which is going to host our regional office in the region and also be more like an African house within the region to cement our presence within the region. Thank you once again, and I yield back to Mr. Chair to continue proceedings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Acting Chief Operating Officer Okechukwu. The bank continues to deploy innovative products and services throughout the CARICOM region. We have made significant progress, and we look forward to deepening our trade relationship between Africa and the Caribbean. Before I call the next presenter, just a reminder to our audience to post your questions in the chat box. We will respond before the end of the session. And also, you will get an opportunity to ask questions if you wish to do so directly at the end of our session. Thank you so much for your cooperation. I will now invite our Senior Manager of Trade Facilitation and Investment Promotion, Mr. Hilary Kamwanda, to deliver a presentation on Intra-African Trade Fair 2025, in the short form IATF 2025. Hilary, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. May I request, Vashti, if you can just project our presentation on the IATF? Okay, thank you very much. Greetings from Cairo, Egypt. It's evening this time around, but a very good morning to you all colleagues, delegates in the Caribbean. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this webinar on the Intra-African Trade Fair. As you are aware, IATF 2025 will hold in Algeria from 4th to the 10th of September 2025. And basically, as my colleague Ekochukwu earlier on intimated, this webinar actually aims to empower the people and the business community in the Caribbean with critical information, particularly on the IATF, its importance, its role in supporting the implementation of the AFCFTA, as well as to promote trade and investment connections between Africa and the Caribbean. It also serves as the running call for the full participation of the Caribbean public and private sector at the IATF 2025. Just listening to the opening remarks by Dr. Dami Sinanam, I think he highlighted very important information regarding the low levels of trade between Africa and the Caribbean. And also in agreeing with my colleague Okechukwu in terms of why Afreximbank actually is doing this, particularly promoting trade and investment between between Africa and the Caribbean. Afrexim is fully committed to expanding this access to trade, investment, as well as market information across Africa and also the Caribbean. And when you look at the IATF itself, actually it serves as a Pan-African AFCFTA marketplace, which brings together businesses, policymakers, financiers to foster business to business, as well as business to government engagements. It enhances access to trade, investment, and market information, and also showcases the various trade finance solutions which Afreximbank, as well as other partners, actually have to offer to basically spur and also support trade between Africa and also the Caribbean. The platform itself supports a wide range of industries, which includes the creatives, automotives, agriculture, infrastructure, financial. And as we go down the presentation, My colleague Janice will then drill down on the specific verticals of the IATF. Now, in terms of the objectives, why we do IATF, why IATF is important. There are basically 6 key objectives. The first one is basically to share information about the trade. Evashni, you're moving too fast. If you can just slow down a bit. Yeah, basically to bring together continental and global players to explore business as well as investment opportunities in Africa. And also it serves as a marketplace where buyers, sellers meet and explore business opportunities. And thirdly is to provide a platform for business to business, to government exchanges, and also the development of business opportunities. And the fourth objective tries to, Evashni, if you can move, to share about information on trade finance, trade facilitation interventions, which Afreximbank as well as other similar financial institutions are providing to promote trade and investment in the continent, as well as between the continent and also the Caribbean, of which most of the interventions that we are doing outside even the IATF is what my colleague Ekachuku actually elaborated on. And also to share information about trade finance and trade facilitation interventions provided by Afreximbank and as well as other similar financial institutions. And number 6 is basically to provide a broad platform or spectrum that connects a broad spectrum of tradable as well as trade financing activities, namely creatives, things that I earlier on mentioned, automotives, seminars, as well as workshops. And also, we use it as a platform where policymakers actually discuss topical issues that actually have a direct impact on how business is conducted, on how trade is promoted, as well as on how certain policies around investment promotion are also implemented. Next slide, please. Yeah, so in terms of the outcomes of the IATF, we've so far held 3 successful IATF. The first edition was held in 2018 here in Cairo, Egypt, and it was a major success. It being the first edition, we surpassed all the KPIs or the targets that were set for ourselves. We recorded about 1,086 exhibitors with more than 10,000 visitors, as well as delegates that came to attend the trade fair, and also 45 participating countries attended the trade fair. And what differentiates the IATF from other events is that IATF is not just an event whereby people, stakeholders meet. At the end of the day, there are certain real trade and investment discussions, connections, and transactions that are actually consummated on the floor of the exhibition. In 2018, the 2.6 billion in trade and investment deals were closed on the floor of the exhibition. The second edition was held in 2021 in Durban, South Africa. Slightly, I think, as we were just getting out of the COVID era, and we saw about 1,501 exhibitors attending the trade fair. In terms of visitors and delegates that participated in the trade fair, there were about 32,541, and we saw 128 participating countries around the world, within the continent and also outside the continent, participating in the IATF. And we saw trade and investment deals amounting to $42.1 billion closing at the trade fair. And the third edition was held in 2018, again here in Cairo, where we are based in Egypt, in November, and it was a major success. Almost 2,000 exhibitors participated in the trade fair. In terms of the visitors, more than 28,000 participated in the trade fair. And in terms of participating countries globally, because now IATF has become a brand which actually goes beyond the continent in terms of its appeal, in terms of its objectives that it wants to achieve. We saw 130 countries participating in the event, and at the end of the trade fair, we saw trade and investment deals amounting to 43.77 billion closing on the floor of the exhibition. Next slide, please. Now, coming to the 2025 IATF 21, which will be the fourth edition, as you can see, IATF actually is a biannual event. So it holds after 2 years. So after 2023, we have now the 2025, which is holding here, which will be holding in Algeria from the 4th to the 10th of September. And we expect to attract more than 2,000 exhibitors, more than 35,000 visitors, as well as conference delegates, and more than 140 participating countries globally. And in terms of trade and investment deals, we're targeting to close more than $44 billion. Now, in terms of the different stakeholders that we expect to see at the trade fair, as you know, the trade fair is a multi-sectoral event, and it's a platform where different stakeholders actually utilize the platform to advance it could be their business objectives, to close transactions, as well as to forge business connections. So we have various visitors or participants that we attract at the trade fair: the government agencies, or the government themselves, the countries, the ministries of trade, culture, we have finance, we have as well as science and technology that actually participate in the trade fair. We have the private sector, we have the business associations, we have the different agencies, both public and private, and we also have the academia, research institutions, NGOs, financial institutions, as well as development institutions, and generally our stakeholders from the diaspora. Then in terms of the sector groups that we are targeting, IATF is a multi-sectoral event, as I earlier on mentioned, and we currently have priority sectors, but the sectors that you are seeing on the screen actually is just illustrative. It goes beyond this. So these are just priority sectors in agriculture, in automotive, clothing and textiles, construction, and infrastructure, consumer goods, creative industries, including entertainment, diaspora, education, energy and power, engineering, finance, health and pharmaceuticals, ICT, innovation, logistics, manufacturing, mining, standards, tourism, transport, youth startup, which has actually become, especially in the area of youth startups and also innovation, it has become one of the major highlights of the trade fair. And we expect to see a lot of innovations, inventions, and other aspects relating to that at the coming trade fair. Next slide, please. Beyond this, I'll now call upon my colleague Janice, who will take us through. She'll basically take us through the key verticals or components of the trade fair, and also just to highlight more in terms of why it is very, very important that the business communities, the stakeholders in the Caribbean should actually prioritize this event and attend physically. At this point in time, I'd like to hand over to my colleague, Janice. Over to you. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much, Hilary. As you can see, IATF is such an exciting project. So we've got 11 different verticals that we actually have in terms of supporting the IATF. And this is all throughout the 7 days that we have the IATF. The first vertical I'm going to tell you about is called the Trade Exhibition Vertical. This is where the trade exhibition takes place. This is where you can come and set up your pavilion or your stand. And this is where you'll be part of all other pavilions. Last year, we had about 46 African countries.
Okay,
Plus, we had a couple of also pavilions from the Caribbean as well. This is where the private sector comes in as well. It's actually a very critical part of the event. And this is where you can come showcase your services, or you can come showcase your wares and meet other entities who are doing the same. So this is very critical for private and public entities for you to showcase your opportunities. So I think this is a very good one for the companies from the Caribbean to actually take part. So this is one of the key verticals that we have at IATF. The next vertical, and this is run, throughout the 7 days. So it is from start to finish. It's run throughout the 7 days where we showcasing everything within the trade and exhibition. Another very key vertical and a very important vertical is Creative Africa, which comes up, which is called CANEX. And this program, it actually includes everything in the creative ecosystem. It covers fashion, it covers music, it covers film, arts, crafts, sports, literature, and also gastronomy as well. This has been hugely successful, and I think this is something very key that you would also be extremely interested to take part in. It's got its own trade exhibition sector as well, where the creatives can come and showcase their wares and even sell some of their creative goods at the same time at the event as well. And we'll have workshops, masterclasses, lots of showcases, concerts, theater. There's everything that's included in the creative vertical that keeps it as exciting and alive. So in terms of participating in this one, you could participate as an exhibitor and take a booth and showcase all your crafts or anything that you've got creative and sell them at the event. Or you could just come as a visitor and actually just enjoy all that we have to offer in the Creative Africa Nexus vertical. The next vertical we have is quite an important one, is the Trade and Investment Forum. We will carry on our theme at the Trade and Investment Forum, which is Gateway to New Opportunities. And this is where we're recognizing the growth for opportunities in intra-Africa trade, cross-border trade and investments. This is a 4-day investment forum. The first day, we have the Presidential Summit, a very high-level summit. One of our events previously, we saw 7 sitting presidents attend, and plus also the representatives who represented the other presidents. So that just shows you the magnitude in terms of the Presidential Summit that takes place during the Trade and Investment Forum. And this is over 4 days, and here we bring in a lot of thought leadership. We bring in a lot of information on trade and investment opportunities. And this is also where we want to also showcase trade and investment opportunities from the Caribbean and also from Africa that's going into the Caribbean and the diaspora. We talk a lot about topics about the AFCFTA, how to operationalize it, and what we're doing in Africa. So it's actually quite a critical trade and investment forum. And this takes place over 4 days at the IATF within the 7 days. So this is where we are saying, like, one of the objectives that Hillary mentioned was that the IATF was created due to lack of knowledge in Africa. And this is where we bring through all the knowledge so we can assist you in terms of doing trade within Africa and the Caribbean. The next vertical we have is the B2B and the B2G platform. This is a very, very critical vertical for the event. I'm not going to showcase and talk about it too much because my colleague is going to come and speak about the whole buyers program and the link with IATF. But this is one very critical vertical, but I'll leave that, and my colleague is going to join after me and just speak more about it and how you can get involved in this one. Another vertical we have is the IATF Virtual. Because our event is biannually, we believe that trade should not stop. So we created the IATF Virtual, where trade carries on 365 days a year. It's a platform where you're connecting buyers and sellers, and we're constantly connecting buyers and sellers. And I think this is where, if you cannot make it to come to Algeria, you could also look at the virtual platform, and where you still can be part and you still can engage, and we just ensure that you're still part of the community with buyers and sellers connecting. And we also have on our IATF Virtual, we also offer a whole lot of pre-recorded shows. We offer a library of information because, as we were speaking, that information is key. All these presentations, a lot of source information can be found on our IATF Virtual. The next vertical we have is our Africa Automotive Show. We all know that the auto sector is really growing, and this is where we use to present, we use this to present a platform for the manufacturers, assemblers, OEMs, and component suppliers. So there's an exhibition portion to it where all the ecosystem can actually showcase their products and also interact with buyers at this stage. And we've also got a high-level forum that happens within also the automotive show, and it also consists of B2B and B2G exchanges. The next vertical that we do have, it's quite a lot of information, but it's very good. The next vertical that we do have is our AU Youth Startup Program. This is very, very critical because in anything you run in, the youth should always have a voice. And we're also looking forward to the Caribbean bringing in the youth to be part of this. And this is where the youth come and they showcase, you know, their ideas, their goods, their services. And we also provide an opportunity for matchmaking. We provide training, we provide networking, we bring in venture capitalists to actually meet with the youth. And also we're ensuring that the youth are taking part in the Trade and Investment Forum. They're taking part in the other sectors. So they're actually learning from us and they're actually just developing their skill. So I think this is something that where we are looking forward for the youth from the Caribbean to come through and also take part of this solid program. The next vertical that we do have is our Diaspora Day, which is now known as Global Africa Day. This one I'm sure you're very well aware of because we had a couple of pavilions coming from the Caribbean, and this is where it's part of also the trade exhibition, and we dedicate a whole day where you can showcase your cultural ties between Africa, the Caribbean, and the diaspora. And it's a summit as well. It's cultural exchanges. It's a gastro exchange. So it's quite an exciting whole gastronomy, a whole Global Africa Day. The next vertical that we do have is the special days. The special days, this is an opportunity that we provide to countries and also to the private sector, where you actually can take a whole day and showcase. So a country can choose to what they want to showcase. They can want to do their trade and investment. They can showcase tourism, cultural opportunities. It's actually an opportunity where you can actually showcase what you want, or a private company can actually take the day. One of the private companies have taken a day and called it Industrialization Day and created a trade and investment forum towards that and created all information around the industrialization, and that happens on that particular day. Our first slot is going to be saved for the host country, Algeria, and they will showcase what Algeria's got to offer. Our next vertical, which is new to IATF and very exciting, Africa Research and Innovation Hub at IATF. This actually allows university students, the academia, and national researchers to exhibit their prototypes of their inventions and also showcase public research papers. Right now, the call is out to all university students, to researchers, to actually submit their applications to submit their applications to IATF. So we will also share the link now where you can submit your applications, your research paper, or your prototype, and then we will look at it. The call to action actually expires on the 28th of March. So I think if there is anyone involved in this line, this is actually a very good opportunity, and we will take the winners and we will provide opportunities for investment and commercial support so that the prototype can develop and the research can go out into the market as well. And then we've got another one, which is called AFSNet. It's about the Sub-Sovereign Government Network. And this is a platform where we actually showcase the intra-Africa trade and investment and the education and cultural exchanges and the effective and active engagement that is developed on the African regions among sub-sovereigns in the context of the AFCFTA. And this conference is also run within the 7 days. And also we've got the sub-sovereigns who also take exhibition space and also showcase what they are doing in their counties or in their states. So that is the 11 verticals that we do have for IATF. And we believe that IATF is very important. It's just not a trade fair. We're just not a trade fair. This is an opportunity where you can come and be part of the conversation and also have impact. This is where we provide you opportunities with growth. This is where we provide you opportunities with expansion. This is where we provide you opportunities to access much more than you can access anywhere else. We provide you opportunities to access markets, to access insights, to access sales, to access trade. It's just such a huge opportunity where it is just more than an event. This is actually an effort where we actually also making a difference in Africa, the Caribbean, and the diaspora. We've got a lot of success stories that have actually taken a part in the Intra-Africa Trade Fair. There's a lot of stories from different exhibitors who are telling you why they took part and why they keep coming back and how they've made it and how important IATF is. And all I can tell you that do not miss this opportunity. This is an opportunity where you cannot miss out to be a part of. And we will share all the information in terms of how you can participate, whether you want to be an exhibitor. There's also the sponsorship opportunity. The sponsorship opportunity just gives you much more an offer in terms than an exhibitor. There's also an opportunity to just come as a visitor, as a delegate. As you can see, over 7 days, we've got a lot of happening, a lot of exciting educational, informational, and a lot of things where actual trade is happening. So I'm recommending, don't miss this opportunity. I'm going to put the link to register now in the group chat. I'm recommending register. Make a plan to come to Algeria from the 4th to the 10th of September, and you will definitely not be disappointed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janice. Very passionate presentation, and also special thank you to Hilary. Both of you shared insights on the Intra-African Trade Fair, its success to date, and more importantly, demonstrating how this fair can add value to the entities within CARICOM member states. I think the special days and the diaspora days are great opportunities for member countries to showcase their country's culture, to expose the manufacturers, the creatives at an event with a wide audience. Just a gentle reminder to everyone, today's webinar's recording and presentation will be available on our Afreximbank Academy learning platform, referred to as AfriCAD. To our audience, I'm seeing questions coming up in the chat. We will respond at the end of the session, and I'm also seeing a few hands raised. We will take your questions at the end. Our next presenter is Ibuka Okaja. He is a consultant with the Intra-African Trade Bank, our African Buyers Program, and he's going to dive deeper into the Buyers Program, which Janice mentioned earlier. Over to you, Ibuka.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this gathering. It's really, really important. And I stand on all protocols observed. Good evening and good morning, everyone. I appreciate today, and I would like to talk about the Africans Buyers Program. First of all, I would like to appreciate my colleague, Mr. Ihejirika, who spoke about how Afreximbank is being intentional in our trade facilitation and trade financing projects and programs. You know, Afreximbank has tried as much as possible to develop programs and projects based on the challenges that we face in the market, based on how we see the market working together, how we see the market coming together to do transactions and do engagement, because we have seen the importance. Traditionally, trade between our regions has been limited, yet history, culture, and economic potential bind us in ways that can't be ignored. So Afreximbank, through the trade facilitation and investment promotion services, is expanding its vision beyond the African continent to include the Caribbean and as a natural extension of the African Trade and Investment Network. I would like to talk about how Afreximbank has tried to use the Buyers Network, African Buyers Program, to enhance connection and trade between African countries. And also, we want to use that to also enhance trade between African and the Caribbean network. First of all, we all know how most of African businesses, even the Caribbean businesses, sought to import business from, from outside the Caribbean, so outside Africa, because they know, or we expect it, that the quality, or we know that we have more information on their products than we have information on our products. And we also find out how important it is to trade with our neighbors, our region. But we always go after the the Europes, the Asians, and neglecting our market. So because of that, because of this, Afreximbank has tried to work with the light manufacturers, the ETC companies, products here, productions in Africa or in the Caribbean, to make sure that we meet the demand of the market, the African buyers or the Caribbean buyers. So the African Buyers Program, please, let's go to the next slide. So the African Buyers Program was developed as a system or as a community to identify, attract, and develop and host buyers. These buyers, we are trying to use them to create an effective demand for African and Caribbean goods to facilitate intra-African trade under the AFCFTA. If you look at what we have done in the past, IATF using the African Buyers Program, we know that during the IATF, as my colleague said, we have generated over 75 billion USD in the past editions. And on the Buyers Program that we did in IATF 2023, we had over 2 billion worth of deals. So can you just go back, please? So what I'm trying to mention here is, if you look at what the essence or the objectives of the Buyers Program, we are trying to identify, attract, and develop and maintain a dynamic database of potential buyers and made in African Caribbean products and services, and using them to create effective demand for African and Caribbean goods and services by connecting them with qualified sellers, providing support. This is really important. We provide support to facilitate trade with the ultimate objectives of facilitate intra-African trade under the AFCFTA as well as within the Caribbean. The buyers, okay, next slide. We did this because, as Afreximbank is trying to promote trade and promote intra-African trade, we are looking at the challenges, that we are also looking at the key players. And here we know that the key players are the importers, the businesses, the buyers. The buyers represent people who import products and services for their use or for production in their factories or for personal use. So we know that these buyers, because of the fact that they hold key to unlocking African trade potential, they also are major drivers of trade. And we know that empowering buyers themselves or empowering businesses themselves empowers trade itself. And going forward, we are going to talk about how we empower buyers. So intra-African trade excellence is actually the compass guiding Africa towards economic prosperity. We have identified the major key roles that the buyers play. In that essence, we try to develop a community where we can have a relationship with buyers, to provide them with services, provide them with information that can support their engagement with their fellow regions. Next slide, please. So before we started knowing how we can empower buyers, first of all, what Afreximbank did was to do a survey to understand what the challenges are for buyers in assessing the market. And we realized that, first of all, we have the lack of information, which is a problem that most buyers have identified and said, yes, we don't have information of Caribbean goods, we don't have information of African goods, and also the access to funds. That's another problem. Historical trade patterns. This is a very huge problem because most of our businesses, because of the fact they have these trade patterns of buying from Europe, buying from Asia, they stick to it. So even when we identify African markets that can solve the needs of the buyers, they all stick to that trade pattern because it's always difficult to leave what you are used to. Then also we have the informal trade that people use in buying things from that, it spoils the market. When you have the formal trading that gives you access to the market, but the informal trade gives you more access to the products and it's easier and maybe cheaper. It's also another problem. This is why the AFCFTA is trying to bring in measures that can support buyers in engaging in trade with their regions. So in doing this, we have also, next slide, please. So as you look at this, Afreximbank has now looked at what the buyer does. If you know what, as a buyer or as a business, if you are about to purchase, first of all, you have to source for the product before you purchase. And after sourcing for the product, you finance the product. And after financing the product, the payment and the logistics. All these are actions that the buyers take place in their businesses. And in all these things, if you remember, my colleague, Mr. Ihejirika, has mentioned that Afreximbank has suites of products that support businesses. They support trade, they facilitate businesses to connect with businesses in Africa and beyond Africa and in diaspora. So some of these products have actually been developed based on those challenges. For example, in the sourcing and purchase, we have the ATEX, where you have African producers who showcase their products for buyers to purchase. We have the MANSA, which is used for KYC and due diligence of businesses in Africa and the Caribbean. We have Trader for Africa for business information. Then the IATF, which we have talked about immensely by my colleague, my colleague Hillary and Janice. IATF is a very big platform that we use to connect African exhibitors to African buyers. During IATF, we usually invite all buyers to come and partake to IATF to see what Africa has to offer. And trust me, we have loads of success stories from the buyers who have been to the IATF. In fact, I have buyers who tell me they don't even care about the businesses that they do, because when they come to IATF, they discover opportunities, they discover products, they discover businesses that they can bring into their country based on the fact this is not even available. Because like I said, lack of information is what hinders lots of businesses in Africa. We go to China, we go to Canton Fair, we go to some of these exhibitions, and we discover opportunities that we bring back to our countries. These opportunities actually exist in Africa. That is why the bank developed the IATF, and that is why the bank developed the buyers program to develop this community, to connect these buyers to IATF, to connect these buyers to African exhibitors. This is a very huge platform that we have tried to explore and harness the effectiveness of the African market. We also have the IATF virtual. We can also, please, I'm still on that slide. So when it comes to financing, we have products also that can connect you to Afreximbank finances, financial facilities. On payments, you remember my colleague mentioned Pan-African payment system, settlement system, which is used for settling businesses across Africa. On logistics, like I said, these are the challenges that we have broken down the processes of buyers, and we know what the challenges are. So with this, the products fit into those challenges. And when you are part of the buyers program, it gives you access to all these facilities, because the buyers program is like a relationship management program where we manage a relationship with buyers to do business within Africa. Next slide, please. Under the buyers program, we have what we call the African buyers. So I would like to talk about this because this is really, really important. It's a really, really important product of the buyers program. What we do here is we try as much as possible to reorient buyers to source goods and service for African market. But by this, we facilitate connections. What we do is we invite buyers to businesses. For example, we did one buyer tour in Gabon where we invited buyers in the wood and furniture sector to visit Arise facility in Gabon, which is the Gabon Special Economic Zone. Here, buyers were amazed to see that what some of the wood products and wood facilities that they import from China is actually available in this facility. So we made that connection, and these buyers started making trade with this facility. In this sense, what we are trying to do here is to also identify Caribbean buyers who are willing to explore the market, who are willing to go beyond their traditional modes of businesses. We can invite you to business. We can showcase businesses in Africa or in Caribbean where you can actually find opportunities that you can rely on. When I mean rely on, I mean they are better with quality, better in pricing, and better in logistics, because Afreximbank has found a way to support and facilitate businesses in these regions. Next slide, please. These are some of the success stories that we had under the buyers program. I just wanted to highlight what we have done on the buyers program for us to understand what the buyers program is all about. For example, like I mentioned earlier on, we had over 2 billion worth of deals during the IATF. But apart from the IATF, we sponsored some buyers to the Zimbabwean Export Week, where we generated over 14 million in trade deals for only 2 days. And we are talking about FMCGs, and also light manufacturing. And in this case, when we also did the buyer tour in the Gabon, we had a Kenyan buyer who already engaged in business with the Arise Integrated Park, and they are also making transactions. These are some of the things that we do in the buyers program. So we are trying to develop this community of buyers, or people who do business and people who require all these products from Africa to find opportunities in Africa that can support their businesses. Next slide. So this brings us to the benefits of the buyers program. First of all, of course, like I said, it gives you access to our Afreximbank trade finance facilities, including Afreximbank financial partners. We also have the fact that these Afreximbank African Buyers Program gives you access to our trade facilitation services, like I mentioned in the previous slide, where I told you some of these facilitation services that have been developed to support and promote trade in Africa. It also gives you access to trade and market information. We also do twinning and matchmaking, as I've demonstrated during the Gabon tour or the Zimbabwe Export Week. We made some twinning and matchmaking services. Also, we have the access to the Trade Gateway, which is our digital platform that supports trade in Africa. Also, finally, the IATF. I had to put this at the last so I can understand how important the IATF is in driving trade in Africa. Next slide. Now, the key takeaways from this, as we come to our conclusion, is number one, buyers, as we have said, are very pivotal in advancing intra-African trade, both in the Caribbean, because we know that buyers, they are responsible for determining the direction of trade. If a group of buyers determine that going to Asia is cheaper than going to the US, you can understand that most buyers in that country are going to follow that trade. And also, the people that these buyers service are actually supporting wherever they are. So we know this, and this is why Afreximbank is trying as much as possible to support buyers and importers to engage in intra-African trade and provide the necessary facilities that they need to make this business. That is why Afreximbank is playing a huge role in bridging those gaps to enhance the potential in Africa. Thank you very much. And I'm so pleased that I had the opportunity to discuss the buyers program with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibuka, for sharing on the buyers program. To our audience in the private sector, if you are ready to scale up your business, we are extending this opportunity to you to join our buyers program. For those who wish to speak to us separately following this session, our email address is caribbeanoffice@afreximbank.com. This will be posted in the chat. Our next presentation is on our Global Diaspora Day at the Intra-African Trade Fair. And this will be delivered by my colleague, Matimba Changala, who is the Manager Trade Facilitation and Investment Promotion. This should be of interest to participating countries and organizations like our strategic and trusted partner, Caribbean Export. Let's listen to Matimba.
Good afternoon, or is it good morning, everybody? My name is Matimba Changala, and I will be making the presentation on Diaspora Day. Just confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. You can switch to mode.
Thank you very much. So just to give you a background to why we came up with Diaspora Day and what we're trying to do at the bank. So Afreximbank has a diaspora strategy. So we have a diaspora strategy that basically recognizes the African diaspora as a very consequential economic and cultural bloc that we are trying to harness to promote the interest and the development of Africans, regardless of where they might be. So our strategy basically defines intra-African trade as not only goods and not only trade in goods and services between or among African countries, but also trade between Africa and Africans in the diaspora. And we do this on the understanding and from the African Union, who have recognized the diaspora as Africa's sixth continental region. So being able to bring into the diaspora allows the bank to develop specific products and initiatives that facilitate the growth of this commercial and cultural relationship with the diaspora. So our diaspora engagements are basically hinged on 5 strategic pillars. We are aiming to promote trade and investment between Africa and its diaspora, basically also looking at how we harness the savings and the remittances that come into the African continent, and the same would apply that come into the Caribbean. It's also hinged on how do we promote knowledge and skills transfer. We have a lot of people in the diaspora who have acquired certain skills that are needed either in the Caribbean and Africa, and the whole idea is how do we enhance these skills and this knowledge for the development of the 2 regions. It's also focused on research and advocacy. We want to understand the composition of the diaspora. Where are they? What are they doing? What commercial relationships can we harness? What are the cultural linkages that we can foster? And the last pillar is on diaspora outreaches. So to implement our diaspora strategy, we have as part of that what we call the Caribbean Initiative, which is basically the initiative that in which we have formed a relationship with the Caribbean. So basically aimed at promoting the commercial and cultural ties between Africa and the Caribbean. And under this initiative, a lot has happened in just the space of about 2 and 3 years now. And some of those things that have happened include, we now have 12 Caribbean countries that have signed up to the bank's partnership agreement. We have 10 that have ratified the agreement. And my colleague, I think, also highlighted that a line of credit has been extended to the Caribbean countries, and funding is being disbursed to these countries. We also have a representative office, which is currently in the Barbados, and this was established on the 4th of August. And in addition, we've also been providing a number of internship opportunities, and we've been doing this since 2020. And we've also been providing technical assistance, which includes the establishment. We're trying to support the CARICOM with the establishment of a CARICOM Export and Import Bank, and other interventions such as supporting the deployment of a Pan-African and payment system in the Caribbean, among some of the things that we're doing. And I know my colleague also highlighted some of those. Just to also emphasize that our annual Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum also is undertaken under this initiative. And this year we are doing this Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum in Grenada. We've had 3 successful ones so far. So we hope to see all of you for this year's Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. It will take place from the 28th to the 29th. We're targeting 800 delegates. So looking forward to seeing all of you and signing up for the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. I will also just highlight another initiative that we're running as part of our diaspora strategy. So last year, we established an Afreximbank Global Africa Gateway. And basically what we're doing is we've partnered with the Africa Center in New York to implement the objectives of what would like establishing a commercial relationship with the diaspora in the United States. So this is based on, one, we're trying to mobilize resources for Africa and the Caribbean's development by mobilizing and developing special investment instruments, which include things such as diaspora bonds and basically diaspora savings mobilization. We're also trying to mobilize funds. We have, as one of the subsidiaries of a bank, a fund for export development, which provides equity. So it's also aimed at trying to mobilize funds into our FEDA, a subsidiary of the bank. We also would like to undertaking advocacy in the US, as well as managing relationship with the cities and the states, in line with one of, I think, the verticals that my colleague Janice mentioned, the African Sub-Sovereign Governments Network, basically to see how we can twin and find opportunities for subnational governments between Africa and the diaspora. We are also looking to promote investment, basically market entry, how to promote products from the two regions into the US in order to boost the growth of Africa and the Caribbean. We're also trying to ensure a business relationship, policy dialogue, as well as creating a platform for products made into the two regions. And then, so just to highlight as a start to this program, which we began last year, we are undertaking a diaspora study, basically just to understand, what is the composition of Africa's diaspora in the US. We've got plans to roll it out to other regions, but we are starting with the US for now. And then the second program that we're running is a diaspora fellowship initiative. We are trying to basically selecting exceptional. It's an initiative that's aimed at bringing exceptional students from the African diaspora at leading universities in the US and in the general diaspora to come and take up internship opportunities here in Africa. All with the idea of them to experience working on the African continent, see how they could contribute, but also eventually become ambassadors for what we're doing on the continent. And then lastly, we're trying to create a professionals initiative platform. So we're trying to create a hub for Africa to be able to source skills, talent from the diaspora. Traditionally, I think when Africa is looking for consultants to do specialized work, we generally look to China, to India, to Europe. We would like to create a pool of resources in the diaspora that we can tap into, and we can encourage governments in both regions, Africa and the Caribbean, to tap into, so we can also promote the growth of our diaspora and help them to contribute generally to the continent. I would now just talk about Diaspora Day, which is, like my colleague highlighted, a vertical of the Intra-African Trade Fair. So at the last trade fair, we introduced the Global Diaspora Day at IATF. And as part of this day, we will be having a diaspora summit, which is basically a half-day diaspora summit featuring heads of state, high-level businesses, policy-focused discussions on topics that cut across strengthening commercial and cultural ties between Africa and its diaspora. As part of Global Africa Day, we'll also have a market exhibition. So this will feature a retail market where diaspora brands can sell their products, as well as B2B exhibition spaces in the diaspora village. So would encourage you not only to participate in this, but also to be part of the diaspora village. It will also be a place where small businesses from the diaspora can be allocated space in this marketplace to be able to sell their wares on whatever goods they might want to sell. As part of the day, we will also have a diaspora culture fusion, which will basically be an opportunity to showcase African cultures from the diaspora through music, dance, fashion, spoken word, and culminating into a concert of African and diaspora stars. And we've we've demonstrated and had successful one. The last one we had in Cairo, Egypt in 2023. And then we'll also have a dedicated deal room that will focus, a platform basically focused on facilitating business transactions between Africa and this diaspora. Of course, led by the bank, we'll also introduce any companies that are looking for financing, not only from Afreximbank, but other sister financial institutions that could support the trade between Africa and its diaspora. So this deal room will allow you, the private sector, to present your bankable businesses, projects and opportunities for both equity and debt to potential financiers and investors. And then lastly, as part of this Global Diaspora Day, we'll have a gastronomic showcase. The day will also include the showcase of the best in diaspora cuisine. So we'll invite celebrity chefs from the diaspora who will showcase African diaspora cuisine. And then we'll have a dedicated space, an African diner where most of these ships, the chefs will be dedicated, a dedicated space for them to sell the best of African and diaspora cuisine at the global and to showcase African global cuisine. So those are the key features of Diaspora Day. We would like to encourage you to participate. It's one of the verticals of IATF, which is happening from the 4th to the 8th of September. So as you participate in all the other verticals, would encourage you to also come and be part of Diaspora Day. I will end here. Thanks a lot for your attention, everyone, and back to the moderator.
Thank you, Matimba. Again, we are seeing opportunities not only for the public and private sector, but for interns, those in the creative industry, business professionals. We really look forward to wide participation from across the diaspora, which is the 6th region of Africa as declared by the African Union. Audience, just a reminder that today's presentation will be made available on our Afreximbank Academy learning platform, AfriCAD. We now move over to our final presentation, which will focus on the creatives at Intra-African Trade Fair. I will now invite Kani Mashimbe, our Manager of Creatives, to deliver the Creative Africa Nexus presentation. Over to you, Kani.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to present the CANIX at IATF program for this year, all protocols observed. And maybe I should start by giving a little bit of context in terms of why this program is so important for the bank. As ladies and gentlemen may know, the cultural and creative industries have become such a powerful force in the world. They're among the most rapidly growing sectors in the global economy in terms of income generation, job creation, and export earnings. The creative economy is one of the world's fastest sectors, creating employment and income for millions globally. Yet Africa's share of this is quite small, at less than 3% globally in creative goods and exports. And therefore, it is against this backdrop that Afreximbank felt that it was so critical to create the Creative African Nexus program that supports the development of creative and cultural industries in Africa and the diaspora. This is to nurture a thriving creative economy that empowers creators, that promotes cultural exchange and contributes to socio-economic development of individuals, communities in Africa and the diaspora. CANIX aims to address some of the key challenges that impede growth in these sectors through the provision of access to finance, capacity building, access to new markets, policy advocacy, as well as trade and export promotion. The program of the CANIX at IATF falls under our trade and export promotion pillar. So I will take you through what to look forward to for CANIX at IATF, which will hold in Algiers during the Intra-African Trade Fair between the 4th and the 10th of September. The program will bring together African and diasporan creative talent, stakeholders, financiers, policymakers, and investors in this one platform. The event program is designed to be an immersive and sector-driven experience, bringing together the brightest minds, experts, and creative industry leaders, innovators from across Africa and diaspora. This will be set within a very vibrant CANIX hall with 4 dynamic live stages that will host thought-provoking panel discussions, fireside chats, electrifying performances, and insightful masterclasses. This event will serve as a catalyst for meaningful engagement, fostering deep connections, collaborations, and networking opportunities amongst attending delegates, driving the future of Africa's creative and industries forward. The elements of the event will cover a sports screen, which will be film, TV, and digital, music, visual arts, literature, fashion, gastronomy and culinary arts, with performing arts as well as immersive technologies and design. If we want to to look at some of the highlights in terms of the program, it will consist of a very dynamic exhibition and marketplace, which will be a dedicated space for fashion, for visual arts, crafts, African food products, as well as a publisher's market and other creative products. There will be an art exhibition that will run throughout the duration of the event. There will be a range of exciting live performances from African diasporan acts. These will take place throughout the event, and this will culminate in the concert that Matimba already has alluded to. One of the key verticals that we have during our CANIX at IATF program are the master classes, which are smaller groups of intensive master classes and educational programs that take place throughout the event, and are led by industry experts, and are really very popular in terms of the delegates because of the outputs that they provide and the insights that they provide for creatives. There'll also be networking and deal rooms. These a range of networking and deal making opportunities are included for delegates, and we'll also have a CANIX deal room for creatives to pitch their creative projects for potential investment and financing from both Afreximbank and our financial institutional partners. We will also have a CANIX Summit, which will be very dynamic with in-depth discussion, high-level panel discussions, fireside chats, exciting performances as well. And then we'll also have our CANIX International Film Market, which will be an inaugural event where we'll bring across a major film markets from across the continent and diaspora in a unified platform that will facilitate cross-border trade. It will act as a hub for industry professionals, filmmakers, distributors, and investors and media entities to exchange ideas, strike deals, and elevate the profile of global African cinema. We'll also have the CANIX Book Fair, which will focus on global African publishing, where we bring together publishers from across the continent and diaspora to showcase their creative output in literature. We'll also have a music factory, which is an exciting live recording studio that runs for a duration of 3 days, where there will be masterclasses on music writing as well as recording. And normally the outcome of this event is an album that gets released on all major streaming platforms. We'll also have the CANIX short film showcase, where we will screen the finalists of our short film competition, which we will be announcing soon. And we hope to have a lot of entrants for the short film competition from the Caribbean, so that they can also be featured in the screenings, sorry. And of course, Matimba has mentioned the Global Africa Day that we will have. I know that we're slightly out of time, so I've tried to compress everything as quickly as possible, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak to you about our program for CANIX this year. Thank you, and I hope to see you in Algeria for CANIX. Thank you.
Thank you, Kani, for this presentation, promoting the creatives across Caribbean and the diaspora. I think this is an area that would be of interest to the artists and artisan and the fashion designers, and so all those in that creative sector in the region. So we have now reached the end of our presentation, and we'll take a few questions. We are seeing a number of questions in the chat box. Some of them relate specifically to your businesses. I encourage you to contact us via email with your direct questions. Caribbean office at afreximbank.com so we can arrange a one-on-one virtual meeting with you to understand your business and provide appropriate solutions. In the meantime, we will take some questions here for the benefit of our audience. One of the questions that's coming out of a company in Jamaica who is interested in participating in the Intra-African Trade Fair. And they are trying to find out how does a company in Jamaica participate? How can we register and provide, can you provide the website address? I want to bring Janice in there. Janice, can you respond? How can a company in Jamaica participate in the Intra-African Trade Fair? Janice or Hillary?
Thank you so much. So in terms of participation, we will send out details to everybody on the call. We'll send out all the options of exhibition. We'll send out options of registration. So we'll send out full details to everyone on the call. So they've got the full details of how to participate.
Thank you, Janice. And there is another question from the logistics and transport sector. I believe Ibuka can come in here. There is a logistics and transport company operating in Barbados, and they are looking to expand regionally across the Caribbean. How can they develop? How can we develop this to make trade easier between the islands and the international growth possibilities? Ibu, I am not sure if you want to talk about the logistic companies on our trade platform, and maybe I could invite our Chief Operating Officer to talk a little more on that, to respond with some more information on that question.
On this, first of all, like I said, it's trade facilitation is a network. You have the people who have the goods, you have the people who need the goods. And at the end of the day, we need reliable logistics that can transport the goods. And yes, logistics has actually posed a challenge between the two regions, and we are looking to work with anyone who can provide those solutions. For example, we have what we call the ATG Connect, where we onboard logistics companies who can provide services for facilitating cross-border trade. Yeah, we can. I think the best thing we can do here is if you can reach us privately after this session, and we can reach out to the responsible parties within the bank that can continue these discussions with you and probably see how we can work with you to support trade between the two regions.
Thank you, Ibu. I want to bring in our acting Chief Operating Officer here. What is the bank doing to make trade easier between the islands with international growth possibilities? Acting Chief Operating Officer, are you available to add some value to this? Okay, while we wait on our Chief Operating Officer to come in, I will open the line to give an audience member, the first audience member who raised their hand to ask their question. That would be, let me unmute Donnie. Farai, can you unmute Donnie to allow Donnie to ask a question?
Hello, good afternoon.
Donnie, please proceed.
Yes, what I wanted to find out, is there like a specific payment application that you all challenging ahead?
a specific payment application.
To
Can you
facilitate trade and to receive payments that within this marketplace. That's
okay, I could,
that's indigenous to you, to Africa.
sorry, can you repeat the last sentence?
Yes, what I wanted to find out is if there is a indigenous app, right, a payment app that you all are using in the marketplace.
Okay, I will invite one of my colleagues to talk a little about our Pan-African payment system, what we are looking to do in the region, and we will take another comment thereafter. Panelists, who wants to address this point?
Yeah, if I can address this
Please.
on the payment app. Yes, actually, PAPS is working with payment apps to provide those kind of types of payment between regions. And yes, Afreximbank is also working on a payments app called AfPay, but I don't think it's was working yet in your region. But on the PAPS works with different payment apps that can provide those kinds of payments across regions that can support payments with your own currency. And that being said, I think also it's important that we can take your email down and we can refer you to our PAPS team who can provide more information on this, because I know they also have like a payment card that you can use for making those kinds of payment, but they'll provide you more information on this.
Thank you, Ibu. Donnie, please send us an email at caribbeanoffice@afreximbank.com where we can engage you further. Janice, thank you. Janice, there is a question for you. An audience member is interested in knowing, are there any businesses showcasing their products who operate in the photovoltaic industry or the renewable energy sector? Can you talk about some of the businesses, whether we have businesses in that sector as part of the Intra-African Trade Fair?
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of businesses in the energy sector. We have a multi-sectorial event. So in terms of the sectors, definitely there's those sectors that are involved.
Janice, we are losing you. Hillary, can you support from your end? Okay, for the purpose,
Hello, yes.
I believe what okay.
Okay, I'm back. I'm here. Okay,
really
yes.
I could give you some statistics from 20. Yes, that's also one of the biggest IATF. Me now?
Okay, Janice, you appear to be having some technical difficulties. I will invite Hillary to add some more to respond for the benefit of the audience. Hillary?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yes, as I said in my presentation, IATF is a multi-sectoral event. So the list of sectors that I presented in the presentation is just illustrative. So we do actually cover also those sectors. I hope that is sufficient.
Yes, it is. So definitely the renewable energy sector falls under one of the sectors that we cover, and we are multi-sectoral. We create a multi-sectoral platform to give businesses across our member state an opportunity to showcase and to give buyers an opportunity to interact with those providers. Okay, host, can we give Corey an opportunity to ask his question? Can we unmute Corey?
Hello. Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Corey, please proceed.
Yes, I just had a quick question about support for fintech companies in the Caribbean, and if that's something that Afreximbank supports that in that space and that industry. And then also for to follow up the PAPS partnership with the CARICOM cross-border payments settlement platform. Do those transactions settle in EC dollars?
Okay, thank you, Corey. Hillary, do you want to come in here? I'm not sure if acting COO is available.
I can say something on that. Actually the settlement comes in the local currency, because perhaps what PAPS is trying to do is to allow businesses to pay in their local currency, while the buyer to pay in his local currency, while the seller receives in his local currency. So that's the essence of. But of course the settlements can be done through. There can be dollars, but it's not. The settlement is not in dollars, but the transaction and the conversion is based on the dollar rate.
It's based on the US dollar?
It's based on the US dollar rate, yes.
Oh,
But the
okay,
settlement
understood.
is yeah.
But the settlement is in everybody's individual
Look,
currency.
exactly.
And there's APIs available for connecting with PAPS for like other platforms that maybe want to utilize.
Exactly. That's why I said PAPS works with payment platforms.
Right.
They can, yeah, they do. So it's just open up discussions with the team, and they can walk you
Okay.
through how they can onboard you and how it can be used. Yes.
And I noticed PAPS has a number of banks across Africa that are a part of it. And in the Caribbean, is there a list of banks that have already, I guess, joined this system or are part of it? Or
I know that I'm not sure. I don't want to make up things, but I know that PAPS already has some discussions going on in the Caribbean. But like my colleague said, she's going to probably bring up the PAPS team to probably provide you more information on everything that's going on.
okay, not a problem. Thank you.
Just to add there, so it's not yet operational in the Caribbean, but we are working on deploying it in the Caribbean. So engagement has begun with some of the central banks in the Caribbean. So our PAPS team, I know recently this year, was engaging a number of central banks. I think they engaged about 4 of them in the Caribbean just this year, with the idea of rolling it out as well in the Caribbean. So it's work that is still underway with the idea that we will roll it out in the Caribbean as well. It's currently operational in African continent, so ideally would now like to extend it to the Caribbean.
Okay, great. And I don't know if you have this off the top of your head, but is the ECCB one of those banks in the Caribbean for?
Yes, Corey, we are working with all the central banks, and as you know, we are new to the Caribbean, meaning we established our operations just a year and a half ago. So a number of the products and services that we have available on the continent, we are now at the stage of rolling them out throughout the Caribbean. And yes, we are working with all institutions throughout CARICOM.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question, and then although I could see a number of hands raised, please contact us via email. We will set up a virtual meeting with you to answer some of your questions given the limited time we have here today. Farai, can we open the line for Colleen Galazi?
Hi, hello, good day. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello. Okay, great, lovely. My question is around sourcing suppliers from Africa, well, certified reputable suppliers in terms of a particular product that I'm looking for to process here in Trinidad. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. And I've had a challenge in terms of the particular item that I'm looking for to find a reputable supplier for that. I don't know if you've got a platform that has a series of different products that have been certified by some entity that you work with, and so it's that particular supplier requesting samples, etc., and so forth.
Yes, Colleen, thank you for that question. We do have a due diligence platform. I want to invite one of my colleagues to talk about our Mansa platform and how we are using that platform to support businesses who are looking to do transaction across the continent. Ibu? Hillary, do you want to take that one? I know Matimba is
No,
opening the line.
I can take that one.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you I like that question. You sound like a buyer, so I will share the link. I will share the link for buyers on the chat, please. If you know you are looking for to purchase or source any items or products from Africa, just sign up on the buyers program. So yes, what you're saying, there are two things. We have a platform called ATEX, African Trade Exchange, where we have commodities on the platform. And here you can search for the commodity you want. In fact, we can also provide financing for those types of transactions. Also, talking about the credibility of the platform, we know that not every business it's already on the Mansa platform. Or Mansa provides due diligence and know your customer information for businesses who are interested to make sure that the business they are dealing with is legit or credible. But in cases whereby you are looking to purchase something peculiar in the African market, we do also have our stakeholders who are our partners, chambers of commerce and in different regions in Africa. We always make that inquiry for you. We also have the trader information platform. It also provides you information on where you can find some particular aspects of products that you are looking for in Africa. It can provide you with that information and tell you where you can, or even if you want to invest. So we have all those platforms that can support information. That is why we are, like I said, we are developing the African Buyers program to be able to link you to all these facilities that can support your quest or support your activities, or if it's financing, if it's information, if it's trying to make sure a business is credible or stuff like that. We try to guide you in doing business in Africa. And yes, we have a platform called ATEX that can actually provide you with that product information. But if you don't find it, you can also go further to request for what you want, and we can point you to where you can find it.
Okay, fantastic, lovely, great. I'll definitely be reaching out to have a personal one-on-one with via the email that was shared. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thank you, Colleen. We look forward to connecting with you. Again,
thank you.
Thanks. We want to apologize to our audience not being able to take all your questions at this time. However, please contact us via email so we can arrange one-on-one meetings with you. It's now time to bring the webinar to a close. And we want to thank the audience for staying with us and more importantly, engaging us. But the official closing remarks will be delivered by our colleague at Caribbean Export, Ms. Natasha Edwin Walcott. She's the lead export development and promotion head at Caribbean Export. We now hand over to Natasha to deliver the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Umin. There's never enough time, right? I just want to appreciate all of you, the speakers today, all the participants for their time. I believe at the highest count, we were about 120 participants. So we really, excuse me, for us at Caribbean Export, we're really happy that the Afreximbank reached out to us to partner on this exercise. So just want to extend our sincere appreciation to the bank for their expertise and their leadership in that space, their commitment to strengthening the economic ties between the Caribbean and Africa. This webinar has reinforced the immense potential for collaboration, and the conversations we have had today, it certainly lays the foundation for tangible progress in trade and investment. We truly believe by continuing to foster business-to-business connections, supporting SMEs and leveraging platforms such as the IATF, and indeed the Caribbean Investment Forum, we can unlock new market opportunities and drive sustainable development in both regions. Just from a practical point of view, it was really wonderful to hear from the concrete actions and facilities and lines of credit, etc., that has been extended to the Caribbean member states. I believe, if my memory serves me correct, I heard up to 2.5 billion has been mobilized thus far, and we really see the merits of such a partnership. So what's left for me to do is really to thank the colleagues from the bank, for Ivashni Sonto, Amin Matimba, Ibuka, Hillary, and Kani. Thank you so much for your expertise. I know, and I'm convinced, and we saw that from the engagement in the chat and the question and answer. We're happy to see that you have a dedicated email address, because we're quite certain that you will have lots and lots of queries come from the participants today. We are excited by the possibilities, and of course, Caribbean Export reiterates its unwavering support to the Afreximbank and other partners in advancing our shared vision, increasing and enhancing trade and investment between our regions. So thank you very much. And I believe it's your evening time, those of you in the continent, and until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate
Thank you, Natasha. Just a reminder that the presentation will be shared via Afreximbank Academy Learning Platform. You will receive an email with notification on how you can access that recording. Have a good afternoon.